Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Sendra D. My name is Sendra Dorcé. This is part 2 of a 2-part interview. We hope that you enjoyed the previous segment.
So right now, talk to me about, so where we are. So I see you have a Kelly Loeffler pin. So we know there's a bit of drama around Kelly Loeffler's. She's worth $500 million. And I think when you and I first met, I expressed the understanding that voters nowadays, if you're a billionaire, you need to be able to relate to the working class, because in Georgia, apparently in Atlanta, she owns the biggest house or I think her family's very well off, even though she has a working class background because she was raised on a farm. But you have to be able to relate to the voter. Even Donald Trump has billions, but he can talk to people at their level. He can meet the generals and speak to them and get their respect, and he can speak to crowds. So he has a unique talent. So for Mrs. Loeffler, I was reading, and I'm very intuitive. I said, well, that's going to be a problem. That's between you and I'm talking to you because I'm giving you my perspective. So Doug Collins was supposed to be the one to get that seat. President Trump said, Doug Collins gets my vote. This is the person I want. Donald Trump, just the year before, had fought for Governor Kemp, and he said to Governor Kemp, this is the man that should have the seat. Governor Kemp said, no, Kelly Loeffler is my pick. She gets the seat. So he shut down Donald Trump, and he put his person in office. And I looked at that and I said, I don't think that's going to work really well, because looking at her profile and looking at the graphic, and of course, I'm a Republican right now, and I'm pro Kelly if she's pro Trump and she's pro Republican and she's pro conservative movement. But I have to say, just looking at the dynamics, so she has a wealthy background. She donated. I'm reading, thinking out loud. So she must have donated to Brian Kemp's campaign. So that's sort of a reward, like all these ambassadors around the world under an administration are people who donate to campaigns. So she donated. So she won the seat from Doug Collins, and so come the primaries, she won the primary, and Doug Collins did not. So I have to say, it's easy for someone like that who's a superstar in the Republican Party, because she's been a donor for years. This is not something new. People know her. She has she writes big checks. So that was understandable that she got the nomination for the GOP primary. But I said to myself, how is she going to do in the general? Because that's where the real test is. Is she going to be, our voter is going to judge her for being able to write big checks? Because is she able, and you can tell me, so this is the part where you tell me who she is, because you have met her, you know her. Is she relatable? Does she represent the state of Georgia well? Is she someone that can make the Republican Party proud, besides being able to write the check? But does she, go ahead, tell me. So you see where I'm going with this?
Yes, I can see that. I think I probably will not afraid of upset someone for my speaker on behalf of Kelly. And there's a few things that I need to mention. My first time in-person meeting with Senator Kelly Loeffler was on February the 15th. And that particular date is significant for two reasons. Number one, and you know that was the Valentine's Day, and we met at one of these DeKalb County breakfast series, and it was the largest attended breakfast series. And I have to give a thumb up for Marcy, who was the new chair, and that I think that was the second breakfast under her leadership. for the county GOP, and it was very successful. And she has always done this job superbly all the way until even the most recent meeting was November, right before the election, and that also that time Senator Kelly Loeffler was the U.S. senator for less than just exactly a month and a half. So fresh new U.S. senator there, and we both there attending that meeting. Also, both candidates. And as a tradition, when you are in the Republican gathering, and each candidate will have opportunity to speak to the crowd and pitch your campaigns. So I was also afforded that opportunity to be one of the very brief speakers in that crowd today. And with so many candidates, I believe it's close to 20 of us. And so that was the first opportunity I have in-person and direct contact with this U.S. senator. We have a picture taken together, and as a matter of fact,
You'll
the
have to
photo.
send me that photo.
Yeah, I sent to you already, and that photo was taken by the Attorney General of the state of Georgia himself. And so my immediate impression is which such a elegant, beautiful, and because of my age, I have to say a young lady, and such a high-rank government official as a U.S. senator, her ability of approachability is amazes me, and I have no difficult, and I never see her being showing as a snub or arrogant or any of those you can think of some of the politicians we know of. And so this is it's a immediate first impression. We did not have a whole lot of opportunity to cross or intertwining because of the different role, different positions. And the second only closer one was on a Zoom meeting that Georgia Atlanta chapter of Jewish Republican Coalition hold a forum over Zoom, introduce Kelly Loeffler to its members. And I have been attending that group way since back 2010 election. So I have always a fun part of that. So that day, I was lucky, besides Senator Kelly Loeffler, I'm the only second candidate in the meeting. So I've been able to forward some couple minutes for myself before Senator Kelly Loeffler speaks, because she's the keynote speaker. And also in that meeting is for the first time I can hear a little bit in depth of her experience, her humble beginning and her accomplishment in the business world, and what he has been doing 10 months since he became a U.S. senator, and how he has been staunch supporter of President Trump, and a strong senator, one of the strong senator that going to have a strong stand, hold China accountable. And I'm just that that talk really totally basically got me in. And as a matter of fact, yeah, you know, we know there is a two very strong, well-loved Republicans running in this same seat. in a general election with 21 different candidates.
So Doug Collins is running again?
Well, at that time, the November 3rd election.
Third, right.
Yeah, that was the general election. And I don't know if your audience may realize, even though we are on the same ballot, but that particular seat, that election is a totally different type of election than the rest of us on the ballot.
Right, right.
And they are, it's called a general primary. It does disregard what party you are, and simply just all the candidates come in, and the two highest vote getters, if nobody pass 50%, would get into a runoff. In other words, if it end up two Democrats, all end up two Republicans, it doesn't matter. It doesn't counting by the party, and it's just you are the top one, top two go to the runoff election. So that's what but since I so dreamed of both of them end up getting into the number one and number two spot, but then I probably wouldn't have to fight in this runoff, because whichever win, the Republican will have a guaranteed 51 seats and the controlling majority. But unfortunately, the two of them, their campaign leading all the way to November 3rd has been pretty strong to each other, and that
how close
caused a
are
lot of
these
damage.
races? How close are they?
Kelly Loeffler got in the second place, got nearly 26%, and Doug Collins got under 20%, and the Democrat leading contender in this race got over 32%.
So
And
would you say that? So if Doug had not been, so did Doug split the vote?
No, Doug did not cause any harm to Kelly. And the reason I'm saying that combined Doug and Kelly's vote together is still way below 50%. Because you think about 21 candidates, even some of the candidates only get a very dismal number. But when you split 1 point, 2 point, or 0 point something, but so many divided, it would be very hard for anybody to get 50% anyway. And if nobody gets that, so long as we have one Republican get in, and it's not, for me, it's not Doug's participation harmed Kelly in her campaign. Because
What
to
can
me,
get them over the finish line? Whose voters? Who is not supporting these two Republican senators? Which group is do they need to do more outreach to at this point? Well, actually, right now there's no point. It's just about recounting the votes.
well, yeah, but for the runoff, it's a rematch between Republicans and the Democrats. This is one of the major rematch to contest Georgia if we are truly already blue effectively. And
So
this is so important for us. And one thing I have to say, the reason I say the running itself between Collins and Kelly in this jungle primary, I don't see anything wrong with that. And as a matter of fact, I even believe that because of they both in, and they both have their own followers and supporters, and in reality, it may end up bring some additional Republican voters as a result of that. And since we are all on the same ticket, and I think I'm even one of the beneficiary of they both participated. Because the more candidate, the more likely to bring in the voters on our side that otherwise may not have a strong interest to participate.
Sure.
So the thing is, the harm part is they're both has launched a massive advertisement campaigning ad against each other.
I
And
think that's what happens when the
that
Republicans.
right, and that is a damaging, and even after the two united, and the harm already caused. And the reason I'm saying all these, talking about why one Republican in our heydays back in 2010 and the first few years after that was the unity, and
Mhm.
we was much more united than what I have seen today. And one of the state representative, Brad Harold, I just spoke with him over the phone yesterday, talk
Mhm.
about the election, because he's from Gwinnett County. We knew each other. We ran 2010, the same year. He elected to become a state representative in the House ever since then. But he lost his seat just November 3rd in this election. He is one of the casualty of Republican seat in the legislature in my county gone. And the other casualty is a state senator, PK Martin, and that's it's horrible. It's Gwinnett County has to be a very strong, solid red county, and now county-wide is a complete turn to blue. From the top county chairman to sheriff position to DA, the
So
D
what happened? Where did
all gone.
what was the missed opportunity there? What did we not see?
Well, uh, this is one of the problems some other Republicans has foresee it coming, and include my Republican predecessor who lost the 2018 election, lost this seat because the District 40 has been in Republican hand by two Republican senators ever since 2004, and for for all those years, we only lost for the first time in 2018. And that is a part of the reason, since I'm an optimistic person, I still don't believe the district just changed in 2 years to completely gone. And I'm going to
So
do whatever, give a
what
shot.
what are you saying, Garry?
It's a number one. Uh, his name is Senator Miller, uh, the last Republican senator in District 40 that I'm running for that district. And he thinks, which now I'm convinced, I didn't believe when he told me this. He thinks number one reason is the demographic change in
Mm.
the district. Not only the district, but also the overall suburban area of Metro Atlanta. And and this year, November 3rd election, unfortunately, gave him the opportunity to tell me, "I told you so." And now I'm totally admit he was right. But uh, the demographic change is
From what to what?
well, from a Republican to more liberal and Democrat leaning. And
So right. So are we talking about culturally, racially, educationally? What
no,
was the
no, just the population. The Metro Atlanta area has been in the past many years, in the last 10 years at least, steadily having a very strong population growth. And that growth is not just all of a sudden the birth rate goes up. It's actually people moving into this area and as a result, whichever party they were, and change the composition of the demographic of this area. And this twofold. One is a lot of actually it's a primarily onefold. It's really primarily those internal migration that people moving from a blue state,
Yes,
California,
that's what I
New
was gonna
York,
say. The
and
relocation of
yeah,
West Coast and in north and the up north.
well, this is so ironic because many of them left California, left New York because of the terrible tax burden. And they
And
start
they
coming
bring their
here,
views. They
enjoy, but
look
they bring
the
their
same
political
way.
ideology and they're going to destroy our life. What they
Well, you're
coming
gonna let them destroy. You better stand up to those
here?
socialists.
Exactly. But that is still, I think it is one of the major contributor, but it's not all the major contributor for this electoral shift. And the second reason for that was obviously this is the incoming start from 2018. And way back in 2018, um, our top ticket on the Republican side was the governor, which is our current governor, Brian Kemp.
How is
And
he doing?
he, during that election, it was over the years for all the Republican governors from all their terms, Sonny Perdue 2 term, and Nathan Deal 2 term. So think about all of them is really 4 terms of Republican governors. But if you look at the margin of their winning each one, uh, Kemp, Brian Kemp's, our new governor, win with the lowest margin. And it's a
Right, but these are,
barely
I mean, in
made it.
fairness, these
Yep.
are unprecedented times. We have such a clear division in the country that it's right now it's non the independents, the non-party affiliation NPAs who are actually dictating which elections are being won. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have a larger group of NPAs that end up voting Republican, then the Republican will win. And so people like myself, I'm thinking about going NPA, by the way, because I've had enough of the Republican Party because they're not supporting Trump. The Mitt Romneys, which either we take their names away, or we take the Republican Party away from them, and the George Bushes who are in the Colin Powell who are going to the DNC to say vote for Biden. I've had enough of those people. You're either in or you're out. Like me, after I didn't like Bush, I left. I went to the Libertarian Party. So why don't you go? You don't like the
Uh,
president who's the leader
well,
of the party.
well, Sandra, I may have to come back to you on that point. That just
Tell
to
me, what
share
are your thoughts about that?
share share with you on my thought. But before I'm doing that, I want to add something that may upset somebody. But I want to speak out the honest truth, the way
Speak
I
out.
see it.
This is Frankly
The
Speaking
way
with
I see it.
Sendra D. Speak out.
And the one thing, I certainly will have to make sure fitting the title of this program, frankly speaking. And I am now doing that. And
Do that.
this going back to 2018 election, Brian Kemp barely win the governor's mansion. However, as a part of the campaign strategy, they realize, of course, he's facing unprecedented challenge by Stacey Abrams, especially her massive power ability of getting more, mobilizing more Democrat voters and into the poll. And I have to give her credit for that. But in the meantime, facing that, instead of fighting the tough battle, strategically, Kemp's campaign let go with Metro Atlanta altogether, and decide it's after all, it's the total vote count, and where they can get the total vote is the rural Georgia. So by changing this policy, they actually did manage to get enough, but at the cost of all Republican candidates in metro area. And that's why Republicans have suffered sounding defeat and started this trajectory of the blue direction of DeKalb County, 2018 DeKalb County, and my district covers 3 counties. So I have to mention them. And the DeKalb County is the larger part, which I have
So
37
your
precincts.
district 40. So it's
Yes.
DeKalb and who else? In which one?
Gwinnett. Gwinnett is where I live, and also a portion of Fulton County. It's a
What is it?
Fulton,
Fulton.
Fulton. Yeah, Fulton County. And these 3 counties are major metro county, and DeKalb and Fulton are where Atlanta is. And so these 3 counties start from DeKalb County. 2018 election, DeKalb County lost the entire state legislature delegate from the Republican side. We have not a single state legislature left in the whole country. And that includes my Republican predecessor, Senator Fred Miller, who lost his seat after serving for 8 years. And the only single Republican elected official in the entire DeKalb County was Nancy Jester, who is the county commissioner in District 1. By the way, November 3rd, she lost her seat too. So DeKalb County effectively completely blue. And Gwinnett County suffered a heavy blow also, lost quite a half dozen of Republican state legislature seats. And that's why we fight so hard, and include myself, and try to regain back some of them. And unfortunately, not only we didn't succeed, I just told you the 2 more state legislator on the Republican side lost in Gwinnett County. So the Gwinnett County now effectively blue too. So this is a bigger trend, but it's the result of Kemp's campaign giving up the metro area strategically. It was, to me, is a short-sighted. It did play a role in winning the governor's mansion, but I don't think it was the cost of lost the entire metro area, because that started the domino effect that I seriously, I'm the most optimistic person, and I seriously doubt that we can maintain the Republican Party in the statewide election as
You
anymore.
have to be optimistic. You have to believe this is where you bring God in,
Yeah.
because you know what's at stake here. What is at
Yes.
stake? It's very clear. The conservative agenda is so clear. The uncertainty that the Democrat agenda brings is unprecedented. They have no vision. They run against everything. So the Republicans have clear points as to what they want to implement once they get into office. The Democrats run against that. That's not a
Well,
strategy. So when they get into office, they can say anything they want because they never outlined their platform to begin with. They just said they won't do, they're going to do the opposite of the Republicans, but they never say what they're going to do. Do you see what I mean? There's a difference.
that's
So
that's
I want
terrible.
to talk to,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
so we talked earlier about Lynn Wood and the division that is brewing right now in Georgia with these elections. So Lynn
Yes.
Wood is a very well-known, very well-established attorney in Atlanta.
Yes.
many famous cases, including the Covington boys, where they won a case against CNN, et cetera, et cetera. So he is the power broker. If you have a big case, he's the one in Georgia to go to. So I want to
Yes.
talk to you about the tweet that he sent. Can you read me that tweet of what he said? Because we talked about that.
Yes, I would happy to. I have it open on my computer screen here, and this is the tweet on November 14th, 2 days ago, in early afternoon. Here is at Brand Camp GA get out of jail card, colon. One, other special session of legislature. By the way, this one I don't have a serious problem. But listen from number two. Two, void unlawful election, dash, cast an electoral vote for at real Donald Trump. And number three, schedule all down ballot race for January 21st election. Number four, demand at K. Loeffler resign. Number five, appoint at Rep. Doug Collins. And number six, then resign. And with this tweet, it created
So he
such
also want Governor Kemp to resign?
yes. And as a matter of fact, this tweet, I initially saw it in a group that I created personally just a few days ago. And the chat group is entitled to Chinese American or Asian American support Kelly Loeffler group. And within this group, this one of the member in that group posted this. And my first impression, I look at that, I just say, well, I don't think this is real. You got to watch out what you see on the internet. And that's my first comment. And then I went on Twitter. I take a closer look, and it's to my disbelief and dismay, it turned out to be true. And to me, it makes no sense from many angles. And
So why don't you analyze it from your experience as someone in Georgia who just ran an election and who has firsthand knowledge of these peoples and the part that they play in what is happening in Georgia? Tell us, myself and the audience, what you can read through this tweet. He's asking
well,
for
uh,
people to resign, to be fired. Tell us.
well, first thing I need to make is after I read the response, so many followers in support of him. It was 32,000 loves. And I just could not keep quiet and voice my opinion. So this is, I tweet a reply to his tweet, and that also distributed to all the people he listed, include Governor Kemp and our President Trump, Kelly Loeffler, and Doug Collins. And my tweet read, I wonder what if any good can come out of this tweet for Republicans right before our crucial runoff election to preserve our desperate need of the Republican majority in the US Senate, our last line of defense in this 2020 election. I'm afraid that this would only help Democrats. And I was totally prepared to be bullied, considering
And were
about
you?
32,000 to support him. And well, luckily, I haven't get any death threat. And since I think probably
That's always a good thing.
I'm just nobody. They didn't care what I say. However, here is my assessment and why. Because as a matter of fact, my tweet is a lot more lenient and moderate. In reality, my first comment is this is coming from a highly reputable attorney And I could not believe the demand he's making is so clearly unlawful.
So
How you think a governor has the right to void an election and force the electoral just to vote one way or another? It's
I
zero.
definitely don't know, but where
I,
this is coming from an attorney, not just an attorney, but a very successful, is he a
yes,
constitutional attorney?
and that worries me. He's the one that helped Trump with this kind of ability, or even to
So
me,
I want to
it's
get past the
even lost
anger.
the clear-headedness.
I understand you, this is frustrating because a lot of, which is why I told you I'm I always question Republicans and their motives. So I want to get past the anger and the insanity, but to back to the logical process behind this man's tweet. So he wants Kelly Loeffler. That's the most important part. Kelly
Yes,
Loeffler, because he knows that Kemp is not going to resign. That's not going to happen. But
yeah.
Kelly Loeffler, he wants her fired. Is it because he doesn't think she can win? And so by firing her, he can he can
Not
appoint
at all.
Collins.
Not, not at all. Because as an attorney, he should also know after the governor appointed Kelly Loeffler, after Kelly Loeffler sweared in the U.S. Senate chamber, the governor Kemp has no more authority to fire Kelly Loeffler, not whatsoever, zero. And so this is a useless kind of demand. And on top of that, appointed Doug Collins for what? Doug Collins' name is not even going to be on January 5th election. What is he doing sending a tweet like this at this
He's
moment
scoring
of a
points for
crucial
sure
battle?
with Collins.
Well, other than just please Collins and
Clearly,
express, yeah, well, yeah. And so the thing is, I personally would not want to say this or believe this, but I have to say, unnamed a colleague of mine in the Republican rank who actually has a much more seasoned experience in politics, in particularly in Republican politics, told me, and this is something
you
I
want to
have
tell
to
me
say.
who?
I cannot tell you who, and I can also say this is not my words, but I give you the thing. He actually over the phone asked me, he said, Garry, did you realize Linwood is a high-powered attorney, super-powered attorney? Well, I say, yes. So what? Because I didn't get it. I wouldn't think ill of anybody. And his follow-up question is that he probably charged $6,000 an hour. I said, yeah. So what?
Right.
Well, then he realized that, I consider myself a very intelligent person, but I'm just so dumb that he has to bring it up. He said, don't you see, this might be just simply create more billable hours, milking
So
our
you think this
president,
is just about?
milking the Republican and the
So
Trump
you think
supporters.
this is just about marketing?
No, this is not what I think. As I said, I'm simply quote somebody else bring up this point. And but it's for me, I personally wouldn't think, because some people may even say Lin would probably offered his service to President Trump and not charge. I have no way of verify that
He
or
says he's not
whatsoever.
charging President Trump. He says he's not charging.
Yeah, and then maybe that's why I wouldn't just totally take this other person's comment.
So
But
let's do this.
other,
So Mr. Linwood, Mr. Wood, Lynn, Mr. Wood, if you are watching the show, I invite you to come on the show and clarify all these questions that we have. I'm a strong supporter of Mr. President Trump, and definitely we want to be on the same team here, playing fair. So there's ambiguity right now on our end, trying to figure out why would you do this to, at this point after the primary, the jungle elections were done. Now it's only between Kelly Loeffler and her opponent. I don't even know what her name is, the Democrat. And so
It's
I guess
Reverend Raphael Warnock. Yes.
so at this point, so I want to touch more on the chaos that's happening. So what do you think caused that? Besides just the count, the sort of the disorder that seems to be included in a process that needs to be impeccable. That's, counting votes. How did Georgia get to be that? I mean, and then we're not hearing from Governor Camp. Apparently, he's isolating because of he's on quarantine
COVID.
because of the
Yeah,
COVID.
COVID-19. Yes.
Right, but he
Um,
can still speak on the phone. He can be, he can do Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. And at this part, he still should be able to see what Trump has been doing, and it's a total out of commission. Is uh, At least I would say it's a little bit short of courage, and especially facing this kind of situation is the time to demonstrate his leadership, and he certainly is no lack of that. And
Absolutely.
I urge him to come out. I really a firm believer of Brad Harrod, the state rep, just lost the election in Gwinnett County. I mentioned earlier. Told me over the phone. He says Republicans forgot what Reagan said. Do not say ill word against other fellow Republicans. And this is something that more of our Republicans need to look inside themselves and think about that. And I think the only exception is when one of us start doing that. Other than that, I will try myself to not saying any ill word about my fellow Republicans. We need all the people we could united
We
to
do, but I can't
win.
feel sorry for them. They
Yeah.
need to just, roll up their sleeves and get in this fight because, we're
Yes.
gonna leave them behind because there are some of us who are ready to fight, and
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yes.
there are some people who got comfortable in their political office, and
And
so
Sandra, one thing
yeah,
I think is very important I want to share with your audience and everybody. This is something I grew up in my life generated my own motto, and that is I live my life and try my best to never let how I feel get into the way of what I want.
absolutely.
So I
That's
wouldn't
definitely
I wouldn't do the thing that only feel good at one moment and harm me in the long term or even the immediate goal. Because the thing that you say you do, it has to be come to service of your major goal. And right now for Republican Party, particularly in the state of Georgia, is to win January 5th election,
absolutely to
runoff
win those
election.
two seats. We need to win
Yes,
those two seats and keep that state red because this is not just for this election, but this is for future elections. Also, we have an election coming up in 2 years. It's every 2 years. It's not every 4 years. People forget, they don't vote in the primaries. They don't vote in, the other election, the mid cycle election. No, it's every two
and
years.
to emphasizing on how important this is, I want to quote, paraphrase. I wouldn't say quote because I just heard it and now rephrase it from Senator Mark Rubio. He came to Georgia last
Yes, he's
Wednesday.
he's there now, or
Um,
he left already.
no, he left already. He was here last Wednesday, and I fortunately hear him speaking in person. And the thing I want to share with everybody when he tell the audience there in the rally is very rarely in the history of the country one non-presidential election can can produce such a profound impact for the country, for the direction of the country. like what we are right now facing in Georgia. And
Absolutely.
think about that. It's a tough job in front of us, but it's a heavy, heavy duty on our shoulder as every Georgian, as every Republicans in this country, because the Democrats already do it from all over the country. Some of them are
Right.
even talking about moving down here. And
They
it's
are going
no
to take
time.
over,
Yes,
and
it's no
we
time
need
for
to.
us to have an infight.
No, there isn't, but also it's clear that those who are not ready to be clear on why they are where they are,
But
step
I would,
aside so somebody else can take that
yeah,
seat.
you're right. I
I'm
would
not asking
hold,
anyone to resign, not in that
yeah,
way, but
yeah, yes.
try to be, more how can I say, more of a visionary as to where the party is, where we are all going versus where you are going. So don't think about yourself only, think about the group. And that's the thing about Donald
Exactly.
Trump. He thinks about the movement and thinks about the country.
Yeah, and one of the thing that what you just mentioned is perfect for one of Ted Turner's quote on his one of his thing on his desk says lead, follow, or get out of the way. This
Absolutely.
applies to many
Absolutely.
of the people we were talking about.
Absolutely. Well, Garry, I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I think, I welcome you back on the show anytime. I want you to just give my audience a bit, to your final thoughts on where, what you see for the next month and a half as we move toward January 20th. What is your prediction, and how do you give hope to the people who are waiting for something to be finalized in these elections?
Okay, yes, I do have some final thought to share with everyone here. And one of the reasons I get involved in this particular round of election, on one thing, as a very strong Republican and hold strong conservative values and to fight for our value to preserve American the way it is, our tradition, our heritage, is very important, but I do have another agenda, which is at least I don't see many of the candidates actually carry that is as with my background, everybody already know, and as I have already mentioned that my style is relatively non-confrontational, and I am in my bio, you have read the unity has been the hallmark of my life. And what I have seen ever since the 2016 election is painful for me to see the country turn into this poisonous political environment as people start hating each other on each side, and that even impact our family lives, some marriages, some colleagues, and some blood brothers, siblings, and different cross different generations. And this is not America is about. And I got involved is a part of the thing that I want to help the healing and help to keep in mind that we are all Americans on this. And one thing that Mark Rubio mentioned right, and but it's actually deserve further thinking. He says, keep in mind, not all the Democrats are socialists, but all socialists are Democrats. And it sounds like a joke, but the logic is profound, and
Absolutely.
that is that we should never lost sight that overall Democrat is our opponents and not our enemy. And some of them are, but that doesn't warrant to label the entire Democrat. And so I always have a strong belief of that. And I actually just yesterday sent out an email to the to my opponent, the sitting senator and the senator elected in my district, a message to congratulate her win, because as a state legislature candidate, we are not customary to concede or congratulate each other. That's just, it's people, for governors, for president, yes, they do, but not on the state level. But I didn't care. I just felt this is a time for me to say something to her. And also in that message, I also reminded her that I lost, but I do have 35,000 voters in our district that has been supporting me. So he should never lose sight that he served in the state senator for all the voters, for all the citizens of the district, not there to advance her own ideological agenda. And
Absolutely.
if it is for serving the benefit of the district to the people, my hand and arm always open should ever she has a need to communicate, to reach out to my supporters, voters, and my community. I'm always there to help. And I wish her best for the next 2 years.
You are a better man than most. And I just want to end this with, on that note that you were just speaking of, the Pledge of Allegiance, my favorite line is, to the republic for which I stand, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's all we
Yes,
ask for:
yes,
indivisible, justice, liberty for all. And
yes.
thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Frankly Speaking with Sendra D. My guest today was candidate for I'm so sorry, candidate for state senate, Garry Guan, who gave me the opportunity to get all the inside scoops on Georgia politics, past, present, and future. Stay tuned for more of my guests, and I invite Garry to come back anytime, and as it was such a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you again.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you, and thank you for everybody who is listening. And my last word is from my knowledge, what I studied this country, United States, America, is far greater than some people may think. And even the worst that happens, Biden did take the White House, America would not be destroyed.
No,
Our country has been resilient, gone through worse than this, and we will rising up again, and we will maintain to be the shining city on the hill.
that's correct. And Garry, if my audience would like to reach out to you, how can they reach you? What's your Twitter handle and what's your website and other contact
Okay.
information?
The easiest is my email address is Garry at GarryGuan.com, my full name. And the only thing you need to remember, the Garry in my name is with 2 R's. And my cell phone number is 770-634-4188. And I personally will try my best to answer my phone or returning my call on my own. So I'm never afraid of people reaching out or contact me. And my website is also, you can go just GarryGuan.com. Will be able to get my website. As a matter of fact, just simply Google, you can get Emory information. I live a life in public, and for me, the privacy is almost a luxury, not
It
even
is. So
cannot
what about
think.
your Twitter handle? What's your Twitter handle?
At the Garry Guan with the word D in front of my full name. It's very
Perfect.
easy. Yeah.
Very. So thank you so much. I so appreciate all the service you've done for the Republican Party and still doing. I wish you much luck with the Georgia elections, and feel free to come back anytime. I'd love to get an update as soon as we see some kind of movement. So again, thank you again. Please like,
I
share,
love
and
that.
comment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And to the audience, please like, share, and comment And of course, always subscribe to Sendra TV, which is where Frankly Speaking with Sendra D is hosted. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Frankly Speaking with Sendra D on Sendra TV. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when a new episode is uploaded. Also follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and we definitely appreciate you being part of this community. Pray for humanity.